Hello there. I am coming to you live and direct from the Higginbotham kitchen. I want to share some nuggets with you guys as the week goes on. Some of you may already know that our focus for the week is transparency, and I am sharing some information with you, other little subtopics as it relates to transparency. One of the things that you need to understand about transparency is that it's essential to having what it is you want. Because when you're not transparent, when you're not being honest, when you're covering up your feelings, when you're not saying or asking for what you need, what you're doing is you're attracting the opposite of what you want and what you need. And then we become frustrated because I don't have any friends that can be real with me. Every time I date a guy, it just seems like he lies to me. Well, you're starting out the relationship by lying to him. He may not know that you're lying, but there are things that you're overlooking that you feel strongly about that you're not saying, at which point you're opening the door, or you're opening up a space, like I like to say, to bring in the things that you don't want. So being honest with yourself, I'm not saying you have to be brash. I'm not saying you have to, hit a person over the head and be rude. But if it means the difference between your peace, maybe you do have to throw a few curse words in there. Maybe you do have to use SOB here and there to get your point across. Sometimes you need to fight for the vote for yourself. Okay, so let's talk about setting expectations as it relates to transparency. So when it comes to setting expectations, sometimes you're going to do it in the beginning, depending on the relationship, depending on who you're talking to, depending on what the situation is. Maybe you're working on a project or something like that. You're going to want to talk about what you expect in the very beginning. Listen, this is how I feel. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm not looking for. This is what I'm willing to accept. This is what I'm willing not to accept. I remember a friend of mine started dating a gentleman years ago, and she started dating him. They were up in age. They were very mature, right? Both were married before, what have you. And she said to me, one of the things I told him was, listen, I want to have fun with you. I want to spend time with you and grow with you. But what I'm not going to put up with is you cheating on me. So we can play all kind of games. We can have all kind of fun. But the deal breaker is I'm not down for that. I'm a one man woman. You need to be a one woman man. That was a deal breaker. So going forward, if he breaks that, there's no surprises when she chunks him the deuce, because she started out the relationship letting them know that, right? Another thing that we often do when it comes to setting expectations is sometimes you're going to set these expectations as you go, okay? Sometimes you're going to be in a relationship, whether it's professional or what have you, and you're going to say, as you begin, you might not say it in the beginning, but you might, as something happens, you might want to let them know, hey, listen, I noticed you did this. That's actually not acceptable for what I'm trying to achieve. Or, hey, that pissed me off. I mean, sometimes you don't need to use an educated SAT word. Look, that was shitty what you did, and I want you to change it. Period. Okay? What comes along with setting proper expectations is don't mute your feelings. Oftentimes, we don't say how we feel because we don't want it to make us look insecure. We don't want it to make us look needy. We don't want to be that girlfriend. Unfortunately, by you not saying something, you're actually saying something, okay? You need to learn how to trust yourself. If you have something inside you, an instinct that's telling you, I don't like this. He's not coming straight home like he said he would, or something's not right. Ask the question. How that person responds will let you know exactly what you need to know. It'll let you know if the relationship is worth continuing. Because if they blow up and they get all pissed off at you, that's a clear sign. That's a sign that your feelings, you voicing your feelings, is painful to them. Okay? You need to understand that that's not healthy. When you let somebody know something is bothering you and they blow up on you and they try to beat you up about it, that means that they're not willing to take care of you. They're not willing to care for you when you're, in pain. Sometimes in a relationship, there's a time where you explain yourself. Now, if it becomes something where you're constantly always questioning where he goes and what he does, two things from that. Either he's got to go because he's not trustworthy, or you got to go because you're not ready to trust. Okay? All too often we get a hold of something, whether it be in a relationship, whether it's in a job or what have you, and we start compromising because we're fearful that we're not going to be able to have a chance at this again, whatever this is, job, house, relationship. Okay? And that couldn't be further from the truth. So there's no mistakes. There's only missteps. Remember that. There's no mistakes. There's only missteps. If you make a misstep and it severs a relationship, that's what that was supposed to be. Okay? So as you grow, as you evolve, as you leave yourself open to want to make moves, as you understand, okay, let me analyze and look at the situation. What can I take from it? What can I leave? This is what's important for your growth. Okay? So setting proper expectations, let's recap. Sometimes it's going to be in the beginning. Sometimes you got to lay down the law right out the gate. Okay? Non-negotiables, all that. Sometimes it's going to happen as you go. You've got to be willing to say, when you get a text message that sounds crazy, which text messages are the worst because they're misinterpreted all the time. Be woman enough to say, hey, I got your message and I just wanted to be clear. And then go into, are you upset because of this? La, 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 la. I just want to make sure. Just be mature about it. You don't have to use big SAT words, like I said. Just be mature about it. Say what's on your mind at the risk of people thinking you're crazy. That's okay. Because if crazy is all you got to worry, if people thinking you're crazy is all you got to worry about, remember they talked about Jesus while he was on the cross. Okay. So vote for yourself. Stay focused on your transparency because it's going to bring you what you want out of life. Also, don't assume and get frustrated. When you assume that somebody understood what you said, when you assume that somebody gets what you're saying, and then you get upset with them, ask yourself, but was I clear? Did I literally say to them, I don't want you to do this? Okay? If the answer is yes, you literally said, I don't want you to do this, then the next step is to confront that person and say, listen, you and I had this talk. Do you recall that? That's another thing. People forget stuff. Okay? I'm one of them. I remember a whole lot, but sometimes I forget the details. Okay? So you have to give people grace. You have to know that you're building this thing. And one of the biggest things when it comes to setting proper expectations is you expecting that things are going to be tough. You need to set your own proper expectations within yourself that, okay, this is not going to be easy peasy. Just because I do all these little things, because we like to come up with systems because of our upbringing and because of the things we went through as kids, we like to come up with these little systems. I'm never going to have to go through that. And then bam, we find ourselves, we've built this whole entire fortress on what we're not going to do. And what ends up happening is we utilize those old behaviors in new situations that they actually don't apply to. Okay? So don't get frustrated with yourself. If you didn't set the proper expectations, don't assume people are just going to automatically know. And then the last thing when it comes to setting proper expectations is don't mute your feelings. Trust yourself. Goes back to what I just mentioned. Don't mute your feelings. If you feel bad about something, share it with that person. It's going to give you all the information. It's going to save you years of experience with that individual. If you just let them know right up, you know what? I was uncomfortable when that happened. It kind of made me feel like this. I'm going to give you some advice. It's best for you to talk to that person verbally than through text message, so they can hear the inflections in your voice. They can hear your heart as opposed to them reading something and then making the situation worse. Okay. So remember those things when it comes to setting proper expectations. Sometimes it's in the beginning. Sometimes you're doing it as you go. Don't assume and get frustrated. And lastly, but most important, don't mute your feelings. Trust yourself. If you feel it, say it. Okay? Until next time, be transparent and set proper expectations.